Hey, how are you? Welcome back again to Fathers of Nations. This is chapter 5, summary, page 66 to 81. Dr. Afolabi, the guide. But of course, this is Liberty Media class. Remember, this is the new phase of doing things. Previously, we were doing it differently, but because of the channel and also the changing and also the regrouping and putting ourselves and all the energies together to give you the very best, we, for now, going to refer ourselves as Liberty Media class. So students, brace yourself, buckle up with everything that you have, not everything really, but with whatever that you need that maybe will see you maybe getting the best out of this exquisite moment. Now, there is one thing that I need from you. In case you're coming across this work and it's your first time, a friend of yours referred you to this particular channel. You wouldn't want really in the near future to be referred each and every time by a friend. Do this, subscribe, hit that notification bell and leave it on so that our future uploads, you'll be the first person to be notified of, and you'll be the first one to get the fresh uploads that you're going to be doing in the near future. And number two, share it with good friends, refer it to some other friends there that you know that remember, be a brother's keeper rather. So if you feel like this work, somebody out there really needs it, be a good steward and share with them and let them get the best out of this. And finally, not really finally, but the last third thing that I expect of you is comment down there in the comment section, and that one motivates me. It gives me the energy, it gives me all that I need to keep on doing this one. Now, that one aside, let's dive into it and see what exactly this chapter is all about. Remember, it is Dr. Afolabi here, the guide. What is all about Dr. Afolabi in this particular chapter here? So, into our next slide. Before Dr. Afolabi was invited to Banjul, the capital city of Gambia, to serve as an advisor to the Summit of Heads of State, he had previously been a guest at the Foundation of Democratic Rule in Washington to give a keynote address at the annual conference. Dr. Afolabi was married to Pamela from Boston, US. Dr. Afolabi's invitation to Washington had given the couple a chance to visit Pamela's father, a widower who lived in Boston. Dr. Afolabi fondly remembers Pamela's dad through a watch that could help one check pressure, memory, among other things. Dr. Afolabi, while walking about Boston, he bought a razor at $5.23. Later, he rejoins his wife at her father's home. Later, while in a flight out of Washington back to Nigeria, Dr. Afolabi meets Tad Longway. Mr. Longway is the Director of Special Projects at the Agency of the Government and Development in Africa, AGDA. The two exchange pleasantries and contacts. From their talk, Tad Longway had listened to Dr. Afolabi's address and liked it and termed it brilliant. Mr. Longway says Africa is in its present state has two new arrivals: corruption and impunity. He asked Dr. Afolabi if he would be interested in the adventure that is being sponsored by the AGDA, whose underlying idea is to mobilize discontent with Africans in its present state into a will to change it. Dr. Afolabi consents. In other words, he agrees, he buys the idea. Dr. Afolabi confirms to Mr. Tad Longway that heads of state had invited him to the summit to give them his views on Way Omega, one of the document that was proposed that would be the way forward for the betterment of African way of life. Mr. Tad Longway introduces and proposes an alternative to Way Omega, and that is Path Alpha, which differs from the former like day and night. Whereas Way Omega is top-driven and lacks the will for implementation, Path Alpha is bottom-led and has that will. Therefore, he asked Dr. Afolabi to guide 4 Path Alpha travelers and adherents from AGDA is sending as observers to the very summit that he will be an advisor. Mr. Tad Longway hands Path Alpha document to Dr. Afolabi and asks him to remain with Way Omega so that they could find a way to they could get to the summit. Meanwhile, Dr. Afolabi and his wife Pamela are back in Nigeria. The houseboy reports that while the couple were away, somebody came to their house uninvited. When questioned, Issa, the houseboy, did not give an answer. In fact, he says he let the person into their bedroom. The uninvited man services Dr. Afolabi and the man converse in Yoruba. Pamela is dismayed at the unfolding. She learns in utter disbelief that her husband and the man in question knew each other very well. Femi, the uninvited guest and with a scar, is a cousin to Dr. Afolabi. The two grew up together in Kaduna. Under instructions from the family, Femi had brought a second wife to Dr. Afolabi without his consent because Pamela was not giving birth. Birth as in birth, giving birth. Good students, learners, that has to be birth. B-I-R-T-H, birth. Pamela was not happy, furious, and of course, angry. Pamela runs out only to reappear with the broomstick, chasing the young girl, Nimbo. She had found in her matrimonial bed. Femi discloses that the folks back at home are the choreographers, the organizers of the whole scheme. Pamela is extremely annoyed with the scheme of having Nimbo as her co-wife. She's worked up. She demands that the two, Femi and Nimbo, must leave her house. Dr. Afolabi comes to their defense, arguing that it is late at night and that if the two have to leave, then that should be in the morning. Pamela still insisted that they should leave that night. Her demands fall on deaf ears. Enraged at her husband's lackluster in handling the matter, Pamela leaves that very night. A week later, Pamela calls Dr. Afolabi from her father's home in Boston. She informs him that she had filed a divorce. Oh, that again, because of this particular blank slide, we do not have a thing. It means that we've come to an end of that particular episode. And how did that one come just abruptly like that? It was interesting. Anyway, hold tight right there because chapter 6 is on its way. And again, as usual, I don't want to leave you like that. The best way to go through this particular work is when you're seated at a comfortable place, when you know that you are doing this intentionally. And if in case you came across this one accidentally, you just take a look, just a survey of the same. But again, I would propose and suggest that you do it at your quiet, comfort place. Set aside with a book, a notebook, and maybe a pen to jot down some key aspects of the whole summary that we've just had right now. And above all, I just want also to remind you that the only way that you can support this work is by giving a thumbs up, a subscription, and of course hitting that notification bell, and of course sharing with good friends without forgetting a comment down there. Those do me good. Cheers for now.